Hello everyone, welcome back to another Blender tutorial. So today we're going to be making a beginner friendly modeling course, and the final result is going to be something like this, right? So we're just going to be going through the basic steps of like how you would make something like this and the modeling, texturing and everything. This is going to be a step-by-step tutorial, but it's not going to be something that you can do if you've like never opened Blender before. So it would be cool if you have like a basic idea of the controls and whatnot. Secondly, any and all the files that you will be needing will be given in the description below, so you just have to download that zip file and extract it like anywhere you want. Thirdly, even though I do have add-ons installed in my Blender, I will not be using anything that's not already inbuilt into Blender. So before we get started, I think it's important that you go to Edit and Preferences and search for Images as Planes. So you just have this particular add-on turned on so that we can like import our references and stuff. And the second thing that we need to have before we go on is the Node Wrangler add-on. So you just have these two on, and if it's already on, great. Otherwise, you just like turn it on. So the first thing in basically modeling anything is to basically gather the references. Now in this particular scene, we are not going to be gathering a lot of references, mostly because there is nothing really complex going on. It's all like small pieces. So for the same reason, the chances of us getting anything wrong is very little. But if you're going to be doing something a bit more complex, always have references. So in this particular case, we're just going to be having a reference image that I have included in the file. So you press Shift A and go to like Images as Planes, and then add in the file, the pawn basically, right? So you just bring it out and you will have this on your world like this, right? So delete the cube, everyone hates the cube. Go like this, and this doesn't face us right now, so right now I press numpad 1, and so you just press RZ and 90. We could have just gone for the other angle, but I don't know, I feel this is more comfortable. Another issue I have with this particular image is that the middle of this image does not fit with the middle of the structure, and that's just it you know, for the sake of convenience, what we're going to do is like enter edit mode using tab, and then we're going to add some loop cuts using Control R, and we're just going to have like a rough cut here. It's not like exact. This again, it's not something that you have to do, but it's so that like the image looks a bit more symmetrical and stuff. So we're just adding loop cuts using Control R and then dragging it to the borders of the photo, so that we'll have a proper cutout basically. So like this, right? So we just select all these faces over here, yes, and then we press X and then faces, and now we have something that's just this, right? Now again, this is still not properly in the center, so we press Set Origin and Origin to Geometry, and then Shift S and then Selection to Cursor. So now we have this in the proper place. Now if we press GZ and then move it up, we will have it touching the floor of the world. Cool. So now we are going to be starting modeling. The first thing that we have to do is press Shift A and then go to Mesh and add a circle. Cool. Generally, when you're trying to model something, it's always good if you have something that's like to scale, right? So because it really helps with the camera and the lights and stuff. So it would help if we know exactly the dimensions of this particular pawn, but the thing is, I'm just going to use the structure of the chessboard to like in the end get the scale. So for now it doesn't matter, but like we will be applying some sort of scale to this. So first we scale this down using S and then have it match with the bottom part of this pawn over here. Cool. And then we go to edit mode using tab, and then vertices mode using the number 1 key on your keyboard, and you can see all these little dots. You press A in case everything is not selected, and then you press E to extrude, and then Z so that it's constricted along the Z axis until it reaches here, and then you scale it. Cool. Now considering the fact that we are in this particular orthographic view, when we're scaling it, it's always going to scale in axes that are not the Z, but if you're doing like this, it might cause issues. So always try to have it in orthographic view when you're doing something like this. Now the remaining procedure is basically the exact same thing. So you just press E and then you press Z so that it's like constricted to this. You go over here, E, Z again, and then if you want, if you come over here, you can see the X-ray, but then the problem is like the image isn't viewed. But yeah, if you want, you can see that. In case you like misclick somewhere and you like lose the vertices, always go to X-ray mode to like select these. Cool. Yeah, we can have the X-ray mode if you just click this, so that's good. Now you just press E and then drag it over, E and then Z, don't drag it over, and then scale it down, because if you do drag it over, you will see that like it doesn't match on this side. So you just press E, S, and then scale it. Now again, this doesn't have to be perfect, because in the end, you know, it's not going to be like we're having the, it's not like we're going to be having the reference image behind this, so it's fine. So we just get the rough approximate shape, and if you need to add a loop in between, you just press Ctrl R and then add a loop cut and then scale it up. Cool. We've reached here. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll just scale this down a bit more and then scale it up, extrude, and then scale it up again. Cool. And then we come here. See, this is what happens if you move it around. So we always constrict it along the Z axis and then we scale it. That's the best course of action for this particular project. So yeah, so far nothing complex. We're just extruding along Z axis and then scaling it down. Cool. Now we will have some issues with like certain loops with the shape of it, but we will be dealing with that when we add the subdivision modifier on this. So yes, we're just scaling this up. Now this could be a place where we have some issues, but again, it's simple, same process. It just takes like some time to like get used to it. Again, it's not that complex. I don't know why I'm making a big deal out of it, but hey, if you're new to this, it might be a bit overwhelming. So yeah, it's cool. Here again, as you can see, it's not perfect, but as long as it has that rough structure of like a circle, it should be fine. Cool. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, as you can see, if we hide this, this looks very blocky, and obviously that's not something that we want for our final thing. So first what we have to do, I'll show you this way, as you can see, yeah, cool. The first thing what we have to do is go right click and then press shade auto smooth. If you press shade smooth, what essentially happens is like you're just assuming it to be smooth, but then if you press shade auto smooth, it also calculates the angle at which like the face is standing, so you get a better result basically. Cool. Now again, this still looks very blocky. As you can see, this looks like something you can cut your hand on. So what we do is come over here to the modifiers tab and then add a subdivision surface. So do this, you add 2 divisions and you're already getting that structure. Now, a couple of things that we have to keep in mind. One, there's a hole right here, there's a hole down here, and all of these look very smooth, so we don't want that. So we'll just bring back this image. Actually, it's fine. So cool. We'll just come back into edit mode. What we're gonna do is select these edges, right? And then if you press Ctrl B, you'll basically be creating a bevel, and so now it becomes much smoother. As you can see the difference already. Like, see, look at that. So you get a clearer cut, and it also becomes much more sharper. So if you need a sharper cut, add loop cuts and then bring it to the next loop cut. So for example, if you have it over here, right, this looks very doughy, right? It's very flat. So just bring a loop cut and then you have this over here and over here, and like this. Now the same thing can be achieved if you just press bevel. It's the same thing. It doesn't really cause any difference. I personally prefer having loop cuts, but yeah. The other thing, if you look at the reference image, if you come over here, select this and hide this, you can see that there is like a sharp cutting over here. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, over here you can see there's like sharp cutting is there. So we try to get that, and the way we get that is if we come here and then the scaled part, we put a loop cut here and like this, and now we have that bend over there. That looks really good. Cool. Now we can hide this. Before we finally render, it's good to like delete it, but if you want you can keep it, it's fine. Always remember to save your file. Don't not save it, because Blender can crash and then you will be depressed. Cool. Now we have to first clean up this over here, right? So we can press F and then that should work. Now for an added realism, the problem with this particular thing is it leaves this orange sort of peel sort of feel, right? That's because subdivision usually works best for things that are like quads, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 vertices, right? But over here we are basically having a lot of vertices, right? Around 32, I'm assuming. So that's why this happens. So another thing that you can do is like select it, delete it, and go to vertices, select this and press F3 and search for grid fill, right? So just search for grid fill and you'll have that, and that actually feels more realistic, right? You'll have that sort of bump in the top of any sort of manufactured thing, so that's good. Same comes for down here. We like select this using Alt and then left mouse click. Now if you click it and this particular mesh line comes up, it's because you have to select it in the direction of like the flow you're going to. So you press E to extrude and then scale it down, and then E and then scale it down, E and then scale it down, E and scale it down until you reach a point, and then you press F3 and grid fill. Cool. Now you've done that, and because of that now there's going to be a bit smoothness over here. So as you can see, like it became a little smooth. It's because there's this phase right here, so we just do this and bring it out to the edge. So now we have like a proper cut. Awesome, great. Now the next thing, that save it, and next thing we're going to be doing is basically creating the chess table, right? Chess board, right? So this is where we're going to be using our scale, right? So we're going to create a plane, and I'm assuming that each grid on the scale is like 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters. So considering the chess has like 8 by 8, right? We have 8 times 8, so we have 2 centimeters times 8. So basically 16 centimeters, right? You can just write it as like that, but 16 centimeter also works. This is good. Now at the same time, another thing that you'll have to pay attention to is to press N, and then you come over here, you'll have view, and then this clip start, right? Just decrease that, right? Same for the camera. If you come here, select your camera, you'll have your camera options here, and then same clip start, decrease it, because otherwise what happens is like once you start zooming in, things starts disappearing and gets really annoying and frustrating. Cool. So this is ready. Now what you do is come over here and then you press subdivide, and then basically what you're looking for, this is a 3 by 3, we need an 8 by 8, right? So 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah. So this is an 8 by 8 square grid now. So obviously I would prefer if we went from like modeling and then to texturing and then, you know, in a particular order. In this particular case, it's better if we texture this now, so that it's easier for us. So what I'm going to do right now, we will be replacing these textures like a couple minutes down the tutorial, but for now what we're going to be doing is pressing numpad 3 to select the faces, come up here, and again if you deselect them, press A, come up here to press select and then checker deselect, and we will have selected all the alternate tiles, right? So you come here, press the materials tab over here, and you press plus and then assign new. Cool. So this will be like the dark material, and then you like give it a color and it's black. Now obviously the whole thing just turned black, but let's not mind that. Press plus, you press Control I over here, and you select everything else that's not selected, right? So you press new and then assign, and then this will be the light color, and then you can just put white. It really doesn't matter, we'll be replacing this very soon. So after that's done, you go here, and the reason we did that is because basically we're going to be modeling a bit more on this. So yeah, you select everything, press A, select everything, you press I to inset, and obviously sometimes it comes out to be like this because now we are like insetting on all the faces at the same time. So you press I once more, so now you have insetting on like each face. So yeah, once you have this, you like scale it down a bit, right? You have like a small border, press E, press Z, and then scale it up. Cool. Now you want to scale it down basically. So the issue with Blender, generally when it's scaling and rotating and everything, it generally does it depending on this pivot point, which is basically this orange dot that you're seeing here. So what's happening right now is like all these vertices over here and stuff are all at the same time scaling towards this point, as you can see, and it's scaling out from that point also. But we don't want that. We basically want each face to like scale on its own center. So you come up here and you'll have transform pivot point, and you want to change it to individual origins. Right now it's at median point. So individual origins, if you do it S and then you scale it, Shift Z, you can scale it, and you will have this, like all of these are like scale, and that's good. This looks really good. Cool. Now you can change it back to median point, because most of the time median point works. Cool. After that, another thing that you could add is a bevel modifier. So basically it's like if I took this and then add a bevel and stuff, and I would have to do that for like every single phase on this. So what's easier is to just put a bevel modifier, and it does for all the particular lines, right? So you just increase the segment to like 2 and then decrease it, so you get that little smoothness, but it's not like too smooth to the point where it doesn't look realistic anymore. And shade auto smooth for this also. Cool. Awesome. So the next thing what you want to do is come back to edit mode and then press Alt and then click, so that you select the outer edge. You Shift D to duplicate this, and then you press P to make it into a different mesh. So this, always name it, so you know this is the chessboard. This thing over here is the border, let's name it as border, and the circle is basically the pawn. So select the border and we go to edit mode, press A and then press E and then scale it outwards. Cool. And come out, press Ctrl A and scale, and then come back, press A and then extrude it upwards. The reason we have this like very bendiness is because the bevel modifier was added to this, and we took this mesh from this. That's why there's this. So what we can do is basically delete this. I don't think we'll be needing that, but if we do, I think yeah, this maybe like 0.001 or something. No, that's still too high. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, this is actually good. Cool. Awesome. This works. Okay, so we do this, and then now we unhide this, and it's huge. So we scale it down until it fits. So scale it, move it, and then yeah, there we go. That actually fits. This would be like a proper, yeah. Great. Now the other issue is half of this thing is below the board, and we don't want that, so we can just move it up until it's like, yeah, it's outside. Awesome. We haven't textured any of this thing, so but like essentially all our modeling is complete. Congratulations, let's go give yourselves a clap. Okay, after that, considering we're going to be doing all the shading, just come over to the shading tab so that it's easier, right? Save your file, press new over here, and this will be the wooden material. We're going to be putting all of this into the same material. So now that you have Node Wrangler turned on, what you have to do is click on this and then press Ctrl T. No, wait, Control Shift and T. Yeah, Control Shift and T, and it'll open up your menu, and then you have to basically find where you saved your files, your textures, and you come out here. And I don't think that this will be seen on camera because I have files that I don't want to put on the internet, right? That's weird. Personal files. Oh, anyway. Yes, come back, and then you can find all these textures and stuff, and you'll have a color, a displacement, a normal, and a roughness map. So you select all these at the same time, and then you press principal texture, and then just press enter, and like all of those are like entered at the same time. Now obviously this doesn't look good. This just looks like skin. There is no wooden texture whatsoever, and the reason for that is because this is weirdly not unwrapped, and we have to unwrap it, and we can't unwrap it, so we have to do some working on this. If you go to generated, you might be able to see a bit more of the wooden structure. Yes, cool, awesome. Obviously you don't want it to look like this. It's ugly as hell, so press Ctrl I and then hide everything else, save again. So what we're going to be doing is basically cutting this thing. For this particular tutorial, I think it might be enough if we just no, you know what, no, Cool. What we're trying to do is unwrap this thing, and now the way unwrapping works is basically you're taking this three-dimensional thing that has like all these 3D aspects to it, and then you are like cutting it so that it can fit on a paper. So like this, because the textures that we have is 2D files, right? So we just, if this is the photo, is essentially you're just cutting it out so you can paste the texture on the mesh like this, and that's the point of UV unwrapping. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, and most of the time a smart UV project might help, but for this particular tutorial I'm inclined to show you how it works. So what we're going to be doing is basically making the cuts. So a first cut you can make is over here, right? This over here, this looks like a good place to make a cut. Press Alt and then click, left mouse click, and then you press right click and then mark as seam. Now another place that you can make the cut is like select this, right, all the way over here. If you press Ctrl and then click on a vertex, it will find and highlight the shortest path to you. So you just press that again and again until you reach over here, I think, yeah, and then all the way over here, and then you just keep going down with that particular cut. Awesome, great. Yeah, all the way over here. And you press that, you press numpad, not numpad to the other two, and then right click and then mark seam. So now this will be a seam. Now obviously when you have it as a seam, your texture will look like it's cut along this, but for this particular case, considering how we will angle it, I don't think that will be a huge issue. So press A, U, and then unwrap, and we'll have this. Yeah, if you go, I'm gonna try, I don't know how easily this will work, but let's go for GPU and then come over here, scroll or Z and then rendered view, right? Change the color so that we can see, and this honestly kind of looks kind of bad. Okay, so we just have to come here, turn off the overlay, right, and then you like scale it to the point where it gets better. Cool, yeah, this looks better, this looks more realistic. Now the other thing I want to do is change the roughness. Basically I don't want this roughness. This is basically the roughness of the wooden texture. I don't want this. I want it to be like a different texture. So come over here and then you press this open image thing, and then you will be able to you will find a fingerprint texture that I put on the files that I've given for downloading. And you come here, and then if you press Control Shift and then left mouse click, you will see the fingerprint texture. Now basically the reason I'm doing this is so that like from this angle of like where I'm taking the photo, if you press Alt H, you can see everything. Select the reference image and then delete it, right? Come over here, I think this is a good angle, and then Control Alt and numpad 0, right? This will be the window. Now if you select the camera, you'll have the camera over here. Depth of field, no, let's not do that now. Viewport display, pass part out, right? That's put it once, so you don't have to see anything else. The other thing you have to do is over here, render resolution 1080 by 1080, so you'll have like a square resolution, right? If you press N and then you come down to view, you can basically adjust how you want this to be, right? This honestly to me looks good. So I want these fingerprint textures on it, and that makes something look a bit more realistic, and that's why I want it. Cool. If I put this in the roughness and then this over here, yes, cool. Now if I open this, you can see that it adds this particular fingerprint look to it, as if like this was not something that was created in computer, but rather something that has been interacted with, right? Same again, so come over here, this light texture, I'm going to be putting the same wooden texture. For this, come over here, select the cube, select the square, press A and then U, and then unwrap from project from view. So that's basically gonna do, no, that looks like shit. Think Smart UV project might actually be good for this. Again, there are certain issues, but it's mostly because of the way. Yeah. This from Numpad 7, AU, and then project from you would be good. And then UV editing, and then like you just scale it up so that it doesn't look too bad. Like the reason right now is basically, yeah, I think this is good. Or if you project from this view, nah, that's not good. There are different ways of unwrapping, but like the reason is like for me personally, I don't like the way this thing over here looks. So press U and then unwrap, and then I think this should be fine. Like let's look at it. Yeah, should be fine, I guess. Now for the dark tiles, come over here, select this, Control Shift and T, and then find the other files, find the other wooden files, and then you select the same images, and then you put it on the same. It's the same, there's no particular difference over there. So displacement, it's good if you turn it off, and for the same goes for the other one also. Like this displacement thing over here, just like turn it off. I don't want that displacement, it looks better off, and the displacement makes it look weird. In particular cases, it's good if you have that displacement, but yeah. The fingerprint thing, again, we could put it for the dark ones too. So we can come over here and then find the files and then put the fingerprint one, and then yeah, that's good. That's enough. That we don't have to like work too much on that. And honestly, that's about it. I think if we want, we can add a color ramp to this thing and slightly increase it so that it's not that smooth looking. And I think we can do this for like the Shift A, and then yeah, we can do this for like both the textures so that it's not like super smooth looking, because right now the issue is like it looks like it's filled with water or something. So let's not do that, right? Control S, save, and this over here, I'm having an issue with my mouse, so yeah, U and then cube projection, and I think that should be fine considering the fact that we are only seeing this edge. It's good. So yeah, now the other thing what I wanted to do is come over here, this light, just delete it. Always delete everything that's given for no reason except for, you know, the fact that you can do it. Now the world tab, come here and decrease the world brightness to 0. This basically gives us full control as to like what light we want to give, right? So we press Shift A, come down here, and then we'll have light. Do that. Look at that. So there's different ways you can light this particular thing up. The way I found my particular setup was I experimented for some time. So you can have your fun and do the same thing, but if you're doing the exact same thing I'm doing, so you want to come over here and then you decrease the brightness to like 1 watt. That's the first thing, right? And then the other thing that I did was essentially I wanted the reflection to be like from over here rather than like up. So what we're doing is bringing this over here and then doing this, right? And then decreasing the brightness, I think, to around 330 milliwatts, I think. Yeah, something around this, and then changing the color a bit towards the yellow range. And then I think that's about it for that particular thing. I did this, and then another Shift A, and then another light, I guess. I think somewhere around this is supposed to just give the contrast, or we can just delete this and then the other light, Shift D to like duplicate it, and then over here, right? Yeah, this one I think if I have like a bit more brightness to it, it looks better. Again, it's all a personal preference sort of thing. And then the other thing I wanted to do is select camera, come over here and then increase the focal length to like 80 and then zoom out, right? And the other thing is turn on depth of field and use this eyedropper on the pond. And so this, what it does is gives it that like miniature look, because obviously it's not that huge, right? So yeah, this is like a key to making something look realistic. If you have like something that's small, you will have stuff that gets blurred out quickly. Now f-stops, there are proper values to this, and honestly I don't understand it. So the way I do it is just like, if I feel like it looks good, I just assume it to look good. The way the way I look at it is like, it has to be clear. Like I have to be able to see the outline of this particular thing properly, and that's about it. Like, yeah, this gives it that particular, I think somewhere around, like, yeah, this should be fine. Yeah, cool. Again, it's all a matter of personal preference. It doesn't really matter. Like there's no particular like this particular way of like doing something. And you can see like the fingerprints are adding these little cool reflections over here and stuff along with the light. So yeah, I think that's the only thing that we have to play around with. And if you decrease the angle, it basically starts acting as if like it's at infinity. So I think this also looks good. If we maybe like make it a bit more yellowish, I guess. Yeah, this looks good. This looks good. Now if you come over here to this render tab and you come down, you will have this thing called color management, and you will have, if you are using the latest version of Blender, you will have AGX, else it will be like Filmic. It's also fine. No, Filmic, yeah, Filmic is fine, Filmic log is fine, AGX. If you have AGX, go for Punchy. That looks a bit more cool. If you don't want this, you can go for like grayscale, higher contrast, all of this. Usually I just go for Punchy or none. And I'm not liking this colorway too much, so this looks a bit too yeah, this looks better, honestly. So yeah, that's about it actually. Now it's just about setting up the render and stuff. What you have to do is come over here, make sure that this max samples over here, it doesn't have to be this high. So for this particular render, somewhere around 128 or like 256 is like way more than enough, considering the amount of details that's actually in this. So somewhere around like what, 256 will do. Now again, if you're doing like sample renders beforehand, you can do this at like low quality and do the thing, but then this is going to be essentially our final render. So yeah, maybe, yeah, no, that's fine actually. The other thing is like this 1080, that's basically going to be giving you a 1080 image, and if you want, you can increase that, like maybe double it, but then the render times increase and stuff, and it all comes down to like what you need rather than a particular like value or anything. So I think 55 is better. It's giving too blurriness. Yeah. Yes, now if you increase the blades, this is what gives you the bokeh effect. So if you have anything in the background, this will give you hexagons. Now depending on the number of blades will be the shape of the bokeh. So if you have like 3, you'll have triangles and stuff. Yeah, that is honestly about it, I think. Yeah, so now it's just a matter of hitting render and then waiting it to render out, and then you will have your render, and that's cool. If you think about it, you just made something from absolutely nothing. So thank you for watching, and please do subscribe, and if you do make this, do post it, let people see and stuff. So thank you, see you again next time. Bye bye.